We are one day closer to the NHL playoffs.
Let's go.
I mean, one day.
Let's go.
One foot in front of the other. We'll get there as a unit. The Canes finished up their regular season last night. A few other teams have to wrap up their seasons. But, you know, as I like to say, the hay is in the barn, right? The work is done. Now it's time to cash in on all that work. If you're the Canes, there's one question you have to answer. What is different about this year? Right, because you look back at the last 5, there's a lot of success. There's Eastern Conference Playoffs, Eastern Conference Finals, there's victories in the postseason, there's legendary performances, there's so much good, but they're all missing something. Right? The happy ending. They're all missing the Stanley Cup Finals. They're missing the Stanley Cup. So, right, I can go full Webster's dictionary on you all if I wanted to. Maybe I will. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, right? So if you're not trying to be insane, you have to look at it and say, if I want different results, what's different about what you've done? What's different about this team? What's different about the way you've prepared? So answer that question to yourself right now. What is different about this year for the Canes? I'll tell you what I think it is, right? Because when you're looking for your point of optimism, when you're looking at your point of this is what I'm going to cling to, this is what I'm going to hang my hat on, this is what gives me optimism that this year is different, my answer is the top line of forwards. You have to be looking for the thing that makes the team different from last year. I think it is Guentzel, Aho, Jarvis, Aho, Guentzel, whichever side they find themselves on. That's the line that I think changes things. I've been painting this picture often for this team, which is you're down 2-1. There's 4 minutes left. That line is double shifting. That line's going to be out there for 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and it would have been less time on the bench if they could only find a time to execute the shift. Like it is that obvious. That group will be depended upon to get the goal. I'm not talking about the goals. I'm talking about the goal that has been lacking from the Canes postseason up to this point. In almost every series. Heck, I mean, you look at the Panthers series last year. In every game, there was just that one goal.
All 4 of those games of that sweep was a 1-goal game.
If not overtime, 1 goal. Like
the
one.
First 2 games were OT.
1 goal. You could argue 1 goal in game 1 changes everything.
Yes.
Let alone 1 goal per game. 1 goal in that series changes everything. That top line for the Canes is the best argument for they will get the goal this time, and they didn't last time. They're playing well. I mean, how many times can we hear like the opposing team never wants to say, hey, that line is unreal. So they say things like, hey, that top line, now that they have Guentzel, they're buzzing.
Yeah.
How many times can we hear that line is buzzing before you recognize they weren't talking about, even the Aho lines of the past, they weren't talking about it like this. That's the difference. That's what you're hanging your hat on. Those are the guys that I don't believe have an excuse, right? If they don't produce at a wildly high level, those 3 individuals, what are you going to say? You need a better center? What are you going to say? That second winger needs to they went and got Jake Guentzel to be the second winger on that lineup. Mm-hmm. There's no excuses. There's no built-in excuses. Top dudes are mostly healthy.
Yeah, for as healthy as you could be at this time of the season.
Depending on what we'll hear about Fost. Even so, and this is not to disrespect Fost, you know, they sat, 9 guys yesterday, and Fost wasn't one of them. So that probably says, you know, they're more comfortable dealing with him if he has to miss a couple games than a whole host of others on that lineup.
But there's no, hey, Andrei Svechnikov didn't play in the playoffs last year, so that, you know, that's one of our top scorers that's out. Or
last 2 years, really.
Yeah, well, actually, 3 of the last 5 when you look at it, actually.
You can't blame Svech not being there, which has been a built-in excuse for a while.
Exactly. There is none of that. I mean, there's actually a point in a couple times in the playoffs in the past where Freddie Anderson missed a chunk of time last year, even though he came back and played well.
Slavin's been banged up.
Slavins has missed time as well. So, yeah, there's no...
At least going into the postseason.
Going into the postseason, you're fully ready to go. Injuries and stuff will happen, but guess what? You built up the depth. That's the reason why you also got Kuznetsov as well. Like, there's a reason why you have the depth that you have in your organization and on your team right now.
So actually, that's a good point. That's more situational than like identity or DNA of the team, right? What's different about this year? I was looking for things that are different kind of in the DNA and the makeup of the team, but another one might be they're just coming into the year with a little bit better health. Right, part of peaking going into the postseason is managing your roster in a way that everybody can be fresh and healthy going into the postseason, and that's why they've been rotating through. They've limited some ice time in the last few games for certain guys, and obviously in the last game they decided to sit a whole bunch of them. Rod Brind'amour was asked about flipping the switch for the playoffs. That's a conversation coaches love to have. Here's Rod Brind'amour.
Well, you don't flip any switch. That's the key. The key is that you play the same way you've been playing, and again, throw this game out because we didn't have our guys in there. But when you get your full group, how you've been playing and preparing, and that's the game that got you 52 wins or whatever it was. You got to bring that starting whenever it is.
I mean, that's the most obvious answer in the world. Flip the switch. When our guys play, we're on a 5-game winning streak. If you flip the switch, we're on now. So if you flipped it, we don't want to do that, right? We don't. If you flip a switch, it's going off because we've been on for the last however many games when our guys are available. That's the best news for the Canes. There's nothing. Sometimes you do, right? And you watch. We all did during COVID, right? The Last Dance. You watch. The NBA playoffs are going on. There are certain teams where it's like, hopefully we find something we haven't been able to find once the postseason gets here, right? Hopefully the ramped up intensity unlocks something within us. That's not the Canes right now. The Canes are not hoping to reach some higher level. They're hoping to continue at the high level. Since the trade deadline, they've been really gosh darn good. We had our her confidence meter set all the way to plan the parade from basically the moment that trade deadline took place, and we haven't wavered it. There's no higher place to go than plan the parade. There's no higher option. I guess we could do some kind of a gimmick and make it go 110% out of 100, but that's impossible. Plan the parade is where they've been. It's where you want them to be on Saturday or Sunday or, heck, next Friday, whenever they end up playing this postseason game, which, by the way, we still don't know. We'll let you know as soon as we do.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's chomping at the bit, including us here. I was actually talking with Megan LaMontagne, who works over at Mix 1015. We're just like, we don't know, because she does the in-arena hosting at PNC. I was like, we just don't know.
I was talking with Adam Gold right before this. We don't know, and we're like you. We're planning our lives around it also.